Hello and welcome to another edition of Spec Steppin. We're stepping through the web API spec and we're going alphabetically. So we're just getting started here with the B's and partway through that. And today's API, as you can see from your screen, is barcode detection API. Now, note this is, as it says here, an experimental feature. So I would not use this in production, but I would play with it so you're familiar with it and keep an eye on it for when it's released so that you can possibly use it in production. So let's go ahead and dive in on what this actual feature is. So I would again encourage you to go through and read through the documentation on the Mozilla Developer Network. And as it is pretty good documentation, as I've said previously. But basically, what the barcode API detection is, and I'm going to take a real quick sip of coffee, that allows you to utilize things like different sort of UPC codes, barcodes, QR codes, things like that, and integrate them into your application. So as you can see here, there's a bunch of different codes that are supported, different kinds of QR codes, different kinds of UPC codes. There are, I doubt, unless you're really into this, you probably haven't spent time going through the different types of UPC codes available, but I'm sure as a consumer, you've seen them on packaging. So how in the world could this be used in a web application? Well, since web applications are everywhere nowadays, it could be used in all sorts of applications. You could create a web application that is, in a sense, a point of sale system. That would be possible. You could have a mobile application that you could use the camera to scan barcodes and then perhaps have a database that you could grab information about that product. There's all sorts of uses for being able to scan UPC code and find out the information behind it. So there is an example down here. As you can see, it's a pretty slim example. I'm going to show you hopefully a little better one for barcodes. Does have the browser compatibility table and partial support, as you can see, for different browsers. So I'm going to be using the Chromium-based browser, Brave. So it's Chrome, and as you can see, it's got partial support for its usage here. I always also check as a tip, check can I use .com because that is also a good resource to see if it's supported. Ultimately, excuse me, the best way to find out if a browser is supporting something is go to the browser documentation on the latest release and see what it supports. So, but these are pretty good tables to use as well. So let's go ahead and let's dive in because I want to show you how it works. So first of all, I just have a regular, just HTML, nothing fancy about my HTML here. It's just got the H1 because I'm more concerned with the code behind the scenes. Now, I created a UPC code here, a barcode, and underneath you see it has the text JavaScript is cool. That's what is actually embedded. That text is embedded in my UPC code. So there are a bunch of services out there, some free, some paid, that you can go out and you can create QR codes, you can create UPC codes. You could even build your own programmatically if you wish, but there's a bunch of them out there. So I just went to a free service and said, hey, I want this type of UPC code, this type of barcode. I want it to say JavaScript is cool, and it spit it out for me in a PNG format. That's all I wanted because I wasn't as concerned about the barcode as I'm concerned about the code that reads the barcode. So now let me go ahead and jump to the browser, and then we'll come back to the code and show you how it's working. So if you look right here, this is that file, that HTML that's loaded, and I have right here raw value JavaScript is cool. So and it tells me the type of barcode I used, code 128 and all that. So let's go ahead and dive back into the code here. So first of all, I'm checking to see if barcode detection, if the API is available. That's always a good idea. Even in non-experimental ones, it's a good idea to check to see if that feature is available because you never know when a user might turn something off. So it's a good precautionary step. So I check to see if it's available. If it's not available, it's just going to say, "Hey, it's not supported by this browser." And yeah, I'm just doing a console error. If this were a production app, I would probably do something more robust, let the user know, hey, this feature's turned off. You have to turn it on to use this, that sort of thing, or have some elegant fallback to other functionality. So here I'm instantiating the barcode detection API, and I'm grabbing the image. And actually, this should be let. What am I doing using var? Um, I'm grabbing the image. I'm creating an image, actually, a variable, and then I'm setting the image source to PNG. So if I had the image embedded in a browser, I'd probably do a query selector, and I'd grab it from my DOM, and grab the source of that image, and store it in a variable. So I'm doing something similar here. It's just I don't have that barcode listed here in my HTML. So I needed a way to actually pull that barcode into my code. And this is a way that it might be done if you're doing something like scanning, like with your camera on your mobile device or what have you. So I'm creating an image and then just pulling that image DOM in. And then when that gets loaded, I'm calling this function. And I'm actually going to change this on the fly because my styles, I prefer arrow functions. So let me just change that. Okay, so then I'm grabbing my barcode detector, and it has a detect method. You would see that in the documentation. And I'm passing the image that I wish to detect the UPC code along into it. Then, after it returns that promise that, hey, there's a UPC code, then I'm using a parameter barcodes. And I'm doing a for each because it's got to read through, depending on the barcode. Different barcodes have different, like, bounding boxes and things like that. So you may have multiple barcodes, you may have multiple sections of a barcode. So I'm just for eaching over it, and I have the bounding box, the raw value, and the barcode type, which my barcode type is code 128. My raw value is JavaScript is cool. And here's my bounding box if you're not familiar with that, that just shows you the information about the image. In this case, what's the height, what's the width, and all that sort of good stuff. Where's it at? So I just plop that in there because that may, if you're using this on an app where you have to know positionally where something's at, that sort of stuff, it's helpful. So, but the real issue, the real information you want to get is right here, raw value. That's one where, as you can see, I've grabbed JavaScript is cool, which is the text that is in my image. It's not grabbing my text, it's grabbing the text that's embedded within my UPC. So that's the value of my UPC code. If I didn't have on the image, if I didn't have the text JavaScript is cool, then it would still show JavaScript is cool as the raw value. I just put that on the image so you could see what's in the UPC code. So now, if I were using this on an app, I would be able to take that raw value and I could send it to an API, like a database that has information about the particular product or whatever you want to use it for. You could use it for. So this is a pretty cool API. Again, it's experimental, so I wouldn't use it in production, but it is pretty useful, and I can see using it in a lot of applications going forward. So if you have any questions, let me know. And if not, happy stepping.